Welcome to an inside job. My name's Ron, and I don't usually say it, I don't think, but I'm alcoholic addict, and so the heading is an inside job, war on addiction, and war is war, and that's what I'm sitting. That's why I'm sitting here, interviewing great people who will spill their guts, and so that's that. I would thank always LATV because just phenomenal here with Kyle, Jack, Jane, Robert, Alan, and Bradley. It's a half-hour show, but we tend to go long, and I have the feeling we might go a little long today because Gabriel is, I mean, we just clicked. I'll tell you that story in a bit, but the show is geared toward the epidemic that we are facing as society. I want to quote Dr. Gabor Mate. He works up in Vancouver, Canada. Name of the book is Realm of the Hungry Ghost. He works downtown East Side, and he knows its stuff. He knows his stuff, working with, just the worst of the addicts. So it's a Realm of the Hungry Ghost, and he talks about addiction, okay? Biological, chemical, neurological, physiological, medical, emotional, social, political, economical, and spiritual. That's how complicated this thing is. And until that is addressed, I don't think we're going to get, I don't think we're going to make any headway because they're dying from ODs more than we can prepare ourselves for that. We'll talk about that a little. So, I want to introduce Gabriel. Now, I was at the midday meeting at the UU Church in town, and I noticed Gabriel downstairs, and he said the meeting's upstairs today, but I don't know, something clicked. And when he was upstairs, I don't know, did you speak that day or?
I did.
Okay. And I don't know, there was just something about Gabriel. And after the meeting, I asked him if he'd come on the show. I gave him the card. He looked at a few episodes, and he said, yeah, immediately. And, this thing's on YouTube, so spilling your guts is spilling your guts out there, and of course on Facebook. So it's Gabriel. We don't need to go into last names. How old are you?
I'm 33.
Was your drug of choice?
Well, that's a great question. I started off drinking heavy. I was a pretty serious drinker early in my teens.
Like what's early?
I remember the first time I got brought home by a police car was at 15.
15.
16, I was an admitted alcoholic. The progression of the disease is powerful, though. My drugs of choices were anything you put in front of me that, that would get me more recognition in your eyes, that would make me more acceptable to the people that I hung around with, because they were the ones that used hard. They were the ones that had the money to get it, and I wanted to be with them.
And that was where? Gardner?
Gardner, yeah. I grew up
Gardner,
in Gardner until I was 16, and then moved to Ashburnham, Massachusetts.
Yeah, yeah. So Gardner was hitting it heavy at that time?
Yeah, there were, there still most likely is a homeless population in the town, and the friends I went to school with, we used to utilize those people to buy our liquor for us.
Oh, you liquor, okay.
Yep.
And then later on with the drugs?
Yeah, I mean, prescription pills was first along a long line of drugs. It was easy to get from family members that had prescriptions. It was cheap as opposed to, the harder drugs down the line. But it was more accessible, therefore I
Yeah.
did it more.
Yeah. So, what, was it crack or
Oh,
pills, you said?
yes, pills in the beginning, in my late teens.
Yeah. Um, so you already answered it somewhat, but at what age did you know you had a problem? I think you
Right,
just
yeah,
said.
16. I I went with a couple of friends of mine to a party, and after so many parties in my childhood, me and my friends weren't done, so we left there and decided to go to Gardner. I got caught trying to lift a pack of cigarettes from behind the counter.
Uh-huh.
That's how inebriated I was, and I got caught. So the cops are looking for me, and my mother's looking for me, and she picked me up first before the police did.
Oh,
And I remember that conversation like it was 5 minutes ago. I told her that, yes, I think I'm an alcoholic.
what'd your father have to say about that?
My father and
Anything you don't want to answer, just say it. Okay?
that's perfectly fine. My father and I, that first police ride home at 15, I remember that conversation well. Of course, I was really drunk, so, I can more remember the look on his face of just complete and utter disappointment and frustration, and so he knew that I really wasn't gonna stop anytime soon.
Really?
I was so wrapped up, and that really hurt him. That really hurt my father a lot over the years too, because it was so plain to see that I wasn't done yet. So
I only met your mother one time, but as I told these guys, I worked with him. He was a chef at a place, and I know it from that side that he loved you guys very, very much. I remember once he was getting a computer set up for you guys, and he was struggling. He said, "If I don't do this by tonight, then I fail."
that's my father.
Yeah, he was a hard hitter. Not this stuff. Just
Right, no, just,
boom.
yeah,
And he
driven.
was good, and he's smart.
Yep.
So, how long after that acknowledgement did you seek help?
So I don't think there was a time in the next several years that I sought help for myself. It always, for me, in my story, it always ended up in the back of a police cruiser on my way to some, in the beginning, juvenile treatment facility, and in the end, adult institutions like jails and prison.
Yeah, we're certainly going to talk about that.
That's right. So in the beginning, I was committed to the Department of Youth Services until the age of 18, which means I was basically on parole all the way until I turned 18. And in the beginning, they treated it as such, all right, you have a serious problem with drugs and alcohol, let's deal with that. So I would make all the promises. I would make all the concessions you wanted. I would try to get everybody off my back in order
Yeah.
to get home,
Yeah,
in order to get comfortable again, in order to meet up with all the friends that I had that were ready and raring to take me in and love me the way that, I thought that love should be acquired. And I was doing all the things that they were too scared to do. I was doing the things that I thought would bring admiration, and stories about how crazy Gabe is.
yeah,
Gabe will do that, and that's,
yeah.
it's,
So you were a crazy man.
it's crazy to think about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty much my 16 to 19 years old.
Okay. All right. many times in the system.
Yeah, in juvie, I did 3 separate incarcerations.
How long?
First one was 7 months.
Ouch.
The second one was 5 months, and the last was a year.
That's in jail or on probation?
That's on what is called commitment to the Department of Youth Services. So I would go in for 7 months into different juvenile treatment facilities for 7 months the first time, 5 months the second time, and a year the last time because it was a serious offense. My girlfriend at the time and I got kicked out of my parents' house for being, high.
Yeah.
And I wasn't willing to just stay home because, my mom was like, she leaves and you stay. And I said, no, we're both
No,
going.
right.
And I actually stole a vehicle. We had alcohol.
What age?
16.
Whew.
I was going around a corner way too fast in a car that I had no idea how to drive. I had just, stolen it from someone's driveway, and I lost control and hit a tree at about 45, 50 miles an hour. The only reason that I am still here and she is still alive is that we had the seatbelts that were on the door frame.
Yeah.
And that automatically, electronically buckled.
Okay.
Because there's no way that I would have survived
Right.
that crash into that tree head on.
Right.
No way.
And she's all right.
Yep, 3 cracked ribs and a bruised spleen. I had a broken foot and a broken nose. That's it. We walked away from that.
Yeah. Okay. You did the time. Where was the first place that you were seeking help? How did that come about? And what age?
That's a great question. All right. So I started going to meetings, always, for stipulation. I was
You had to go.
I was on probation, right, or I was on parole, what have you. At one point, my parents said, like, you're not coming back unless this is like a thing. And I would do it not to hear a message. I would do it not
Yeah.
to get involved in my own recovery or even think it was possible. I was only concerned about, getting everybody off my back.
And so you came back home, but not with her, with your girlfriend.
Oh, my girlfriend at the time, no. I mean, we've known each other, off and on the streets of Worcester as well as on the streets of every other situation since about 2000, the year 2001. But yeah, our parents after that were vehemently against us being together.
They were what? I'm sorry.
Vehement about it. Like, that was like, there's no way that you will never, be caught with this person ever again. And that's the way we lived.
Were they blaming her somewhat? Or?
Her parents blamed me, my parents blamed her. But in all honesty, I was just another person in her life of active addiction, and
Right.
she was that person in my life of
Right.
active addiction at that point. And that happened reoccurringly for the next 15 years.
May I ask if she's clean?
The last time I saw her was in Worcester. She didn't see me. It's hard for me to, in the neighborhood it was that I glimpsed her, it was hard for me to stop because I was afraid. I was afraid if I stop and she's active, then what kind of emotions that would bring up. And I just hope that I see her in meetings like I did before. There was a period of time where she was in a program and I was in a program, and we got to see each other at meetings. And it was, it was so, it's amazing when you see somebody from your past and they're doing the same thing as you, but then on the other side of that, it's also scary as hell when they're not.
Yeah. Yeah, we know that if she's active, there's no way it could work. Just and you'd be out there
That's correct.
on one of those days that you're having that fight or hurt or a million different things. But that's how serious this thing is,
Oh, it's life
and
or
how
death, man.
delicate. Yeah, life and death, but dead serious. It could have happened like that. Even just, you may agree, it's just my experience, even just seeing her, and then boom.
Yeah.
And I've seen it so many times. You forget about everything.
You go
it
back.
Clicked,
Yep.
triggered.
That's right.
And you were certainly right. How long were you sober at that point?
The last time I saw her, was about 6 months ago, I'd say in the springtime.
So you had about a year and a half put together. Is
Oh,
that right?
a little more than that. So I currently have over 3 years. I celebrated 3 years in September.
Oh, I thought it was 2.
Yep.
Great.
Now
Great.
my boss Michael, he's
Oh, yeah.
yeah, he's got
Okay.
almost 3 years now. Yep.
Yeah, and we're going to have him
Yep.
come in.
I talked to him this morning.
He'll be laughing at you watching this. No, I'm just
He
kidding.
will, absolutely.
Boy, these questions are, I don't know which order to go in.
Oh, please.
Give me, if you would, the rest of the story about incarceration
Definitely, because I am
and the
no,
ages.
Right.
Okay.
Of course. Yeah. I'm no longer. It's not a badge that I wear. It's
Yeah.
no longer a topic of conversation other
Was it
than
back
in
then?
recovery.
I'm
Oh,
interrupting,
yeah.
but-
No, yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was. Going to jail was.
Yeah, I remember even in high school, like I got on my first juvie bid and was like, hey, like I just did some time.
Yeah.
And like everyone looked at me like, what? Are you crazy? And that reoccurred. Like I always figured that, like all the people I hang out with do time, so you don't think it's cool? Like, are you serious?
Okay, back to-
At age 19, I got a 2.5-year sentence, and they threw the book at me. They were done.
They had it.
Ashburnham, Gardner, Westminster, Winchton, and they said go away and don't come back. So 2.5 years at the age of 18, 19, whichever year. I got arrested when I was 18. I got sentenced when I was 19. And I did altogether 2 years on that. It's a 30-month sentence. I did 23 months.
Yeah.
I made all the general.
Where, may I ask?
Oh, Worcester County.
Worcester County,
Yep.
which I hear is a very nice place.
Oh,
with
man.
very nice people.
It used to be. Let me tell you, when I did that sentence, and this is like, how my story goes, is when I did that first sentence, you could do time either one of two ways, in my opinion. You could do it right, and then you could learn the lesson, and you could never come back, right?
Right.
Or you could find the ways that are easiest to do time, adhere to those rules of conduct, how they are in jail and prison, and just figure it out, because at some point you may be coming back, and you got to be ready for that. So I hung out with all the people that I knew could get in contraband. I knew all the people that were either selling contraband or doing it. I learned how to make homebrew. I think I told you before. That was like.
And you got busted for it.
Oh,
How many times?
Numerous times, 3 times. 3 times, and I worked in the kitchen.
You did?
My father, taught me how to hold a knife when I was 10
Yeah.
years old, and I didn't forget it. So in any situation I was in, I could always either go to work for some mom and pop place, do corporate if I needed to, or incarceration, I could work in the kitchen easily.
Oh, they would send you out? to
Oh
work?
no, and pre-release, yeah.
Okay.
At work release or any kind of situation like that, I was always try to get into kitchens.
Yeah. Yeah, and that has its bennies.
Oh yes,
Pl-
very much.
Plus keeping your head working.
So
Right.
I kept my head working all the most negative ways I possibly could. Because in my heart of hearts, I knew that I wasn't done, and that all the things I was saying to my mother and my father, when they came to visit.
Was this in jail, you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not done. And I'm not surprised because that's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting in jail and you're saying, I'm not done. I'm not done.
You could, I mean, I can sell myself a dream so easily. When that door closes and you are left with when you are left with yourself, you're free. You're free to think about all the things that you could possibly do. However, with my disease and how it manifests, I thought about all the things that I could get away with, all the things
Right.
that I'll do better next time. I think I talked to you before about trying to learn all I could about selling drugs, because I
Right.
figured that was always an option. Like,
Right.
I'll pick up and sell something. You know, little did I know that down the line I'd never be able to sell a single substance in my life. That I will do it until it's gone.
So you had education in there in a lot of ways.
A lot of ways.
How to sell drugs, you know, your cooking ability, which I'm sure you're good. Meeting these people, like you said, how to do it when you get out.
Yeah, different hustles on how to make money. It was, you know, and I treated juvie the same way. I would always try to figure out, what can I do better next time? You know, instead of how can I get better? You know.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's good. If I had my pencil, I'd write that down. But
you wanted to know the times and ages, and that's just a little synopsis of how I do time. So I can say honestly that when I wrapped up that 2.5-year sentence, I was out for 3 weeks. I had been trying to get a job the best I could with my terrible record, and I got frustrated. One more, you know, in my mind, one more person tells me no, I'm done. And there was a temp agency I was talking to for about a week, and they had promised me something by the end of the week, and when they said it's no longer available, I said, okay,
That
I'm
was
done.
it.
Went
how long were you out?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
I was staying between my mother's and my father's house because they had divorced while I was incarcerated on that first sentence. And I went to a party. I drank about 1.5 bottles, and I stole a vehicle and smashed it up in a blackout. All I remember is walking down the steps of the housing complex I was in, and then I woke up behind the wheel, smashing up that truck. I was arrested 2 years. They gave me for that.
Another 2 years?
Another 2 years, yeah. You never get less time than you've already done, and you know.
So that's 4 plus the juvie.
Yep.
Like, what, 6? Something like that. Is that what we're up to?
And then that sentence, oh, I remember all the pain
Where
of
was
that
that?
sentence. Same place,
place.
yeah. In Worcester County was all the courthouses, the district courthouses, they turned into Worcester County. So I met a girl in the process, and like, you know, we wrote letters to one another. We decided to date when I got out, and when I finally touched down after 21 months on that sentence, because I'm a knucklehead inside, I get caught with the homebrew, I get disciplinary infractions. My good time, earned good time, gets taken away because of those things. I ended up doing 21 months on 2 years. I decided to date her until it was like plain that we were toxic, and that, you know, this was never going to work out because you use drugs the same as I do, and we're like, we're gonna die. My father told me that, like, you know, I was doing a good thing, and we got into this huge fight. I said some really nasty things to my father that day. He had just bought that house in Ashburnham, and that, you know, it was like a dream of his to refab this place. It was 130 years old. And I told him that that I would burn it to the ground. I said those words to my father because of the fact that I was sick, and that I wouldn't admit it. When he said, "Gabe, I'm glad you're doing this because you're sick," I said, "Are you out of your mind? I'm not sick. I'm doing this because, you know, I don't want her anymore. I'm doing this because I don't want to do that anymore. I'm doing this because X, Y, and Z, because really, at the end of the day, I was afraid I was going to kill myself by being with someone like that." And I wasn't ready to admit that. So he threw me off the property and said, "Don't come back." I stole another vehicle. I got some alcohol. and I crashed 2 cars that night. Another 2 years.
6, we're at 7.5 now.
Yep, and I'm
By the time you're,
20. I wrapped that sentence. I was 24.
you were 24. It stole your life. It stole such a huge part of your life.
In this incarceration at Worcester County, there was an inpatient program
Yeah.
that we could participate in as inmates, and I did that. I had a clinician who told me in one of our sessions that I was doing a life sentence on installments, and that I would not stop doing that life sentence until I either died in prison or messed up somebody else's life, like killing someone else.
Right.
I wasn't willing to hear that at 23.
No, you weren't. And at the point, you still knew you were going back, or that you weren't done, let me say that.
I found some solace in the fact that there were commitments that came into that program inside
Yeah.
the jail. I'm not sure if they even do that anymore. It's been so long, but 12-step fellowships used to do those speaking commitments, and I heard people talk about the things that I was really feeling inside. You know, when you said people spill their guts on this show, like that's what I do now for my 12-step fellowship. That's what I just want to do because someone did that for me. Someone, you know, got me in the chair that I'm sitting in today only by sharing the message that it does happen. There is hope, there is recovery, even for someone that's willing to do life on installments or life on the corner or life in the gutter. It doesn't matter because you can do it too. And they shared that with us when they came in. They talked about detoxes, they talked about treatment, they talked about all these things I had no idea about because I was just not willing to hear any of it before.
No.
So when I was released, I went to meetings. And I met the mother of my children, my ex-wife.
At a meeting.
I did not meet her at a meeting. She is not an addict, is not an alcoholic. She doesn't have any addiction disease or anything like that. But I met her in a workplace I was at.
Now, you're not on parole at this point?
I am, due to completing that program. I was granted a parole on that sentence. They saw that I had an inkling of a chance and then decided to give it to me. So when I met her, we instantly talked about a future together. We thought that, you know, we're of the same sound mind and like goals. So we decided to talk about getting married. In the process of breaking the news to my family and hers, we actually got pregnant with my daughter. That was in 2007. And we were married in June 1st of 2008. My daughter was born November 7th.
You have 2 children.
I do.
Which you're able to see now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of like remembering.
Yeah.
So if someone's able to really get honest with themselves and look at it for what it is, the decisions that they're making, like then I could have said, you know, oh yeah, I'm settling down, I'm going to start a family, I have a job, you know, I'm doing work, you know, I'm part of my family's life again. My father, for example, had the wedding and the reception at that house that I said that I would destroy. He was willing to forgive me, you know, and that's the process, right? You come to accept, you come to surrender to the disease, you come to surrender to the fact that I'm an addict, an alcoholic, I have a problem, and you start to do some work and people see that. It's not about seeing the work, oh yeah, he's doing the steps or he's, you know, got a sponsor. It comes from the inside out, and I love that title of your show, by the way. It's an inside job.
Yeah. We're the ones that are going to do it. In my opinion, we are the ones. Just like here, we're going to tell our story. We need to get somebody's attention because it's broken. The system's broken. And the reason I can say that is because they're dying out there in a lot of other things in that process. And we just can't keep up with what's happening. We talked 2 weeks ago with Chanel, getting to bed.
Right.
And I'd love to talk to you about that. Let me ask, how long were you sober when you got married?
A number of months, maybe 2 or 3 at that point, because I didn't stay clean once I was released.
Okay.
Through the process, I did a little bit of work and got willing because I knew the wedding was coming and I knew my child was coming, and I had an idea, that, okay, look, I can't do this drinking the way I do. I can't do this by just spending my paycheck on weed and other pills. Like I have to. So up until, right before the wedding, I was clean for a little while. The pressure of committing to that kind of life, and me on the inside not really willing to do it. I started doing drugs without my wife knowing, and then
How long after you got married?
It's a terrible story.
It's not a terrible story. It's your story. I know we have to live with our stories, but just automatically, I wouldn't even flinch. I have total understanding. We didn't go that same way, but we were sick. It's hard for me to understand back then when
Yeah.
just saying it now, I couldn't even say. My daughter was 9 months old, my beautiful daughter. And I was going on my way, I was out the door. And the baby went for me like that, like hold me. And I was out the door.
I do.
That's where it took me. That's where I took me too.
Right.
I don't do it now. I wouldn't do it now. You wouldn't do it now.
I wouldn't trade this for the world. No. You're absolutely right. I got a call from my mother. It was 2 days before the wedding, and I had started smoking weed again.
That was the beginning.
That was the beginning. Yeah, I knew that alcohol was off limits. I knew that I couldn't do that. So what I did was I just hung out with people who just smoked and didn't have a problem. Like, oh, maybe I can hang with these people and learn something from them. Finally, right? And how to do this recreationally.
How to do it, yeah.
So my mom called me and she said, Gabe, you're making a mistake. I don't want you to have to do this, for any kind of pretense. That this, you don't have to go forward with this. We can love the child, it's coming, and we can love you and her, and you are, you three will be a family without going ahead with the marriage. And like
Oh, this was before you got married.
Two days before. I still remember her voice is just shaky, and I was stoned on cloud 9, and I couldn't hear it. No, Mom, we're good. I got this. Like, everything's gonna be great. I hear that voice, because my disease talks to me in my own voice, Ron.
Okay.
That's how it comes out. In that moment, I wasn't her son. I wasn't a father. I wasn't a brother. I wasn't even a man. I was an addict in the depths of my addiction, spewing forth all the lies and manipulation that I could at the time to just run away from the fact that she was completely right. My mother knows me better than anyone else in the world. And that is a long, long time of her and I.
A mother and their son.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know.
yeah.
They're just,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, father and his daughter. It's
And
a
like
tight.
she knew I wasn't willing to face it. The night before my wedding, I went to a bachelor party with my cousins and my brother, and you know, I remember going to the package store because, you know, we're getting the beers,
Right.
Oh yeah, it's a bachelor party. It's supposed to be a brotherhood
course.
thing, you know. I bought a bottle of 100 proof whiskey, like for me, and
Yeah.
I didn't tell anybody.
For your personal use.
Yeah, you know, because it's a celebration, you know.
You knew where you were going.
All that marijuana talk before.
Yeah.
Now it's different. You know, now I can celebrate. Like I've earned this, man. I can get this bottle
And
of
you're
whiskey.
going through. Yeah, now, at this point, when you get the bottle,
Yeah.
you're going through. Is that correct?
Oh,
You-
I'm going
you-
through with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like, they have a plan. All throughout my life, people have had a plan, and I've had my own plan the whole time. I
Yeah.
just didn't tell you that, like, at the end of the night, when you're good and you pass out, like, I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah.
And at the end of that night, when they dropped me off and my brother at my father's house, he went in to pass out. You know, he was done. See you later, Gabe. Yeah, I'll see you in the morning. And I had a cigarette. I remember walking off that porch and not a thing afterward until I was stealing, until I was in the just the automatic tape that always runs in my attic
Yeah.
mind. That like I got to get more money, right? Because I
Yeah.
didn't know the next day I was going to clear a couple $1,000s from people who loved
Right.
us and wanted to start us to start out. I had no clue. I wasn't willing to look at any of that. All I knew for me was that I needed to get the next one because that bottle is gone
That's how you woke up that morning.
that morning.
You passed out, you woke up. It's your wedding day,
And
right?
my father left me. He did not, because obviously he knew when he tried to wake me up in the morning that I was, completely done. He didn't try to wake me up, nothing. I woke up in a just complete haze, and asking myself, like, okay, what do I do now? Because now I'm hungover, and I know what I did last night,
Right.
and there are about to be 120 people here that expect a wedding to happen. So I just hung on and did it.
You have a drink in the morning, or?
Nope, I did not. I was scared out of my damn mind, Ron. I
Yeah.
was not trying to pick up another
Yeah.
drink. I stayed sober all the way until after the ceremony, and then I started smoking to try to relax because it was over and it was done, and I needed something, in my whole being. I needed something to complete that absolute knot that had accumulated inside me. Now that I'm facing possible charges, I'm,
What
They-
were these charges?
for the thefts that I had committed the night before.
Oh, and you didn't remember a thing.
No, I woke up out of the blackout because that's where my disease manifested in alcohol, is like, blackout drinking.
Yeah.
It happened, a lot.
Right.
There are all sorts of surveys and assessments that you go into treatment, and they'll ask you, have you ever blacked out while drinking?
Yeah.
And I say yes, and then they ask how many times.
Right.
And I always feel so crazy,
Yeah.
to tell them that.
How would you even make
right.
that calculation? I was a blackout drinker.
Yep.
At first, I was happy about it. Tell the boys.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't remember a thing.
Right. Do you
Why
know what you did?
this?
Yeah, exactly. No, I get it. So, like, I knew what I had done the night before, and that's why I had this, like, just itching feeling inside me that things were going to go bad. And 12 days later, I'm married. Still going to the doctor's appointments with the pregnancy. Everything is going well there. They knock on my door for a warrant. They got me on camera using some of the stolen property that I tried to pawn later on.
And they were at the door 12 days after you got married.
Yep, 12 days. That's.
Did she know that you had? Did she know about your life?
She did.
Yeah.
She had to understand at that level, though she did leave after we got engaged, and that I had the last bout before I actually try to do the right thing. She left for a couple of days to her mother's, left the keys on the rings on the bureau, and said, "You can give these back to me when you're done." I scared the hell out of her. I got rip-roaring drunk and got really, really hurt. I have scars here on my neck from the glass that I broke that night. And I called her in the morning and told her that I was like, I needed stitches probably, but it was probably too late, that I was bleeding, and I was really scared. And she came back. Mm. She's a good woman, good mother. Mm. I put her through a lot.
Is there ever going to be a chance, do you think?
No. At this point, we're co-parenting, and like, it's a beautiful thing to be able, because like, all those years are right under the surface, ready to just rear its ugly head, and sometimes it does, Ron. Sometimes we still fight like we were back then. But one of us, no matter what, one of us is always able to go like, okay, look, I think we're being really unreasonable right now, and I think that we can pull back and discuss this later. And that's what we've done since the divorce. And yeah.
And how long has that been, divorce?
The divorce was final in June of last year.
And you were clean?
I was, yep. I was working on 2 years, at that point, working on 2 years clean.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Was it close then, the divorce? Did you almost pick up?
No.
How come?
I had a network of people in my life that A, had gone through divorces, B, had kids through custody, and
they were
all
clean.
That. And they were clean, that they were working a program. I had a sponsor who had actually gone through this himself. I had all these people to rely on to keep me sane.
Yeah.
In an insane situation. So there was one point where something did happen between us, and then I had to use what's called a 12-step call. I called somebody, told them that I was scared to leave where I was, and that please, help me. And I'll never forget that man. I'll never forget that night. He lived several towns away, and he said, I'll be there in 15 minutes. And he was. He picked me up. He brought me to his house. We had some, cereal and toast at about 1:30 at night, and just talked about why I felt the way I did.
Yeah. So you were able, because of the program, you were able to give this guy a call.
I had him and numerous other people.
Was he your sponsor?
He was not, no.
No, okay.
My sponsor worked early mornings.
Right.
And I knew that, there's all these other people that I could call.
And you had their numbers, of course, yeah. And he came over.
He did. We talked for as long as it was, and then he said, well, here's a blanket and a pillow, and here's my couch. I'll see you in the morning. And when I got up and he drove me home, I was clean one more day. One more day.
Right. That day, you made it sober. The next day, that's something else.
Exactly. I remember walking into my apartment and everyone had gone to work, and because I lived in a sober house at that point, I should say that. I lived with 2 other individuals that were part of my network and part of my process. One had graduated the same halfway house as me. The other was also a sponsee of my sponsor. So we're sponsee brothers, is what we say. And they had already gone to work, but I felt safe.
You what?
I felt safe.
Yeah, okay.
I felt like I was home.
Yeah.
And that I was going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was during the divorce process.
It's rough. So many times, maybe this isn't in your case, but I've just seen it so many times, where the guy or the girl, the mother, usually people that are married, but one of them gets sober, the other one's sober already, like in your case. And then it blows up because now this person that was a drunk is getting better. He wants to be more part of this thing, but that person that's sober has been running the show. And I've just seen it so many times.
Yep.
Again, I'm not saying it in your
Oh,
case.
no, she ran the show. You know, so I was let out on that incarceration. When my daughter was born, I was actually incarcerated. I did not see her born. The first day I met her was at the minimum security at Worcester County. I remember her fingernails because I could only hold her hand, and they were carbon copies of mine. They were the exact same fingernails, my daughter's fingernails. So I wrapped up that parole, and we got pregnant with my son in the meantime because I was living with them, my wife and my daughter at the time.
Okay.
I was not done. I was not going to meetings anymore because I figured all I gotta do is work.
After how long sober?
It's hard to say. I used while I was inside.
Yeah.
I had to be clean while I was on parole. So,
Right.
okay, give it, that 5-month period
Yeah.
I was on parole for.
And if you didn't,
Because yeah, for me, it would have been
Right.
just right back in the can.
they watch pretty close.
Right. I say, so clean. The term clean that we use is abstinent from all drugs, but in recovery means that I'm working in program.
Right.
So yes, I might have
You're
been
getting
clean.
better.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I wasn't in recovery.
Right.
That didn't come till later on when I was willing to admit.
Right.
When stuff hit the fan and I was off parole, it was right back to, I went to a bar, I stole my ex-wife's keys to her car, I drove to the bar and tried to drive home drunk. Smashed up a car, right back in. I was able to plead with the judges. At this point, Your Honor, I have 2 children, well, 1 child and 1 on the way, please give me leniency. And because it was a car that was my ex-wife's, it wasn't
Not stolen.
right. I only had a year for that sentence. Only a year, and that's how it worked out in my mind. It still does. I was doing time nobody should have been doing at that age. Nobody. And here I am given chance for a year sentence. That's sick. That was my life at this point.
Did you know you weren't done? You're coming out of the parole.
I didn't like seeing my son.
Excuse me?
I didn't like seeing my son at the visits. It was not okay.
Right.
It was not like, it was painful. It was the most hurt that I've felt in this process is like, so I watched my son because they weren't willing to give me parole again. I watched my son grow up 5 months behind the glass. When he came in that first time and he was in the swaddling, it was behind the glass. When I wrapped up that sentence, he was like, jumping on his knees with his hands against that glass. That hurts, Ron.
Of course it hurts. It's about to make me cry.
I didn't want that. You know what I mean? And I didn't want any part of that pain again. But what was I willing to do about it? That's a question, right? We got an apartment when I got out, and everything was great, Ron. I went to meetings. I got a sponsor. I actually started working because no way, I don't want to do that visit again. I don't want to put my kids through that again because now my daughter is turning 4.
No?
No, in the process. Now my daughter's turning 4. Like, it's 2011, and I'm doing work on myself. Like, things are actually working out. I have a sponsor. I'm working the steps. I got to step 3, and
You wanted it.
I did.
No.
I wanted it.
You wanted it. You didn't want that.
More than that, I wanted it.
It sunk in. You saw some hope.
That was it. That was the hope. That it started to creep into my life. Like, we had a normal life. We both had full-time jobs. When she was at work, I was watching the kids, and she trusted me. When I was at work, it was because I was going to pay the rent, and things like that.
Right.
I was also on probation at this point because, you know, they only gave me that year sentence with the terms of probation afterwards. So I was doing the right thing there, making all my appointments. I was going to counseling. I had my ducks in a row because I wanted them there, you know. I didn't want to start veering off the path. One thing that I always talk about in commitments is like, so when things go badly and you're doing good, does that mean that, like, you know, the world's against you? Does that mean God had another plan? Is that like, you know, someone's thumb over you just ready to pull the trigger? No, it doesn't mean that. What it means is that, like, I had an opportunity to grow through something that was going to be challenging, and I chose not to. I got my 90-day coin that morning at the 7 a.m. meeting with my sponsor. My color got called for probation. I went to probation. I took the urine, and I failed for opiates. The truth was that you could not fake the shock on my face. You could not fake the absolute surprise. Like, are you
How is
serious,
that
or are you just
possible?
messing with me? So he said, I'm serious, and it's going to be a violation. Rack my brain. What could it have been? Some medication that I was taking at some point? Could it have been, you know, a friend of mine or an ex, you know, roommate, ex-con that, you know, tricked me? And then it was so simple, Ron. Me and my ex-wife go to work in the mornings with bagel and cream cheese, and we
Was the
switch.
poppy?
It was the poppy seed bagels that it was everything. So we switched. We got tired of cinnamon raisin and onion, Ron. We were like, let's go crazy, let's get everything.
Poppy seeds.
Poppy seeds. The morning that I went to the meeting, Ron, the 7 a.m. meeting, yeah, I did the same thing I've been doing for a week. I took a bagel and cream cheese out the door with me, and I failed, and I told him that. I'm sorry. Nope.
No blood tests?
Nope,
or-
there's no valid evidence to say that you can actually fail a dip test for, you know, poppy seeds.
And he's not just saying that. I've heard it a lot of times, and I've also heard that, no, that's not possible, but
so I
from
got,
you.
Right, so I got in the car, and I told my sponsor, because, you know, it's not an automatic, you know, here's the handcuffs, you go into court for a violation. He said, Gabe, just tell me right now, and I'll believe you either way. Did you
The
use?
judge.
No, this is my sponsor.
Oh,
He's like, Gabe, this is just me asking you to
Yeah.
be completely honest with me. And I said, Bob, haven't used anything for as long as I say I've been clean.
right.
And he believed me, and he said, Gabe, I got this. We got this. We're going to get all the evidence together from all the medical institutions. Mythbusters was actually one of them we used, because Mythbusters actually had done it on their show. You can fail a dip test for opiates by eating poppy seed bagels and breads and all that.
That's funny.
But on the other, yeah, exactly. On the other hand, I had him buying me the hair test, the hair follicle test. That goes back 90 days, Ron. He said, listen, we're not going to mess around with blood tests and go into a hospital and get, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
This is easy. You just cut your hair. We'll take
Yeah.
video of you cutting it, putting it in the envelope, and sending it out. And we did that. And sure as shit, excuse me, as sure as the day is long, that came back negative for everything.
Yeah.
The problem was, Ron, that situation that I talked about, the challenge that I was facing,
Yeah.
was too much for me. And, like, I wasn't willing at that point. Sure, I had done step work. I had done a sponsor. I had had a service position. You know, I gave out the coins at meetings. It didn't mean that I was ready to, like, you know, accept the fact.
Yeah.
So when we went into court with all that evidence, and we got a continuance because the judge was like, look, I'm not willing to hear this evidence right now. Come back in a month.
But you were out.
But I was out. I was at home still.
Okay.
I have 4 months clean and sober at this point, and I'm just not willing to wait any longer. I was not willing to hold on to the hope till that next court date that, like, everything was going to work out, because I knew that I didn't use, and my sponsor knew that I didn't use, and I had other people from the fellowship that came with me to court. And I took some money that I had in the bank, and I spent it on drugs that night.
That night.
That night. We said goodbye from the courthouse. I said, yeah, I'll see you later. And I started planning my use for that night. So, that being said, they were willing to accept me back. They were willing to say, like, Gabe, we love you, we want you to come back, you know, to meetings. I'm still willing to sponsor you. This doesn't mean that our relationship is over, but for me, it was over. And that's how sick I was. I was not willing to just accept.
Long
Yeah, exactly.
way into the woods.
If someone says,
since you were 16.
so I was 16, right? If someone was saying, like, you know, Gabe, I love you, come. And I was saying, no, I don't want it. And that's
It's
addiction, man.
embarrassing. And you were using heavy by this time.
Yep, I found my drug of choice.
Oh, that's when you found heroin?
No, that's when I found cocaine. I
Oh.
didn't find heroin until I found out you had to come down from cocaine. Yep, but I started smoking crack on the streets of Worcester, and everything fell apart. Everything. That trust, that recognition I told you that was coming from my ex-wife, she immediately took back. You're not watching the kids. Matter of fact, we're leaving.
I'm not even going to trust you to watch the kids.
Yeah. She saw me messed up a couple of times, and that was just like, okay, Gabe, I can't do this. And so she left for 2 weeks with the kids and didn't tell me where they were.
And you didn't get busted for this?
No, I was
Okay.
still working. I was still at my job. My sponsor actually was from the next town over, and he used to come in just to ask if I was there. And I would tell him no. Because I was ashamed. I felt less than.
Yeah. I would loathe myself. And it wasn't until I talked to a shrink. He was good, Vietnam vet. In talking, I was looking for the words, and he said, "You're ashamed of yourself."
Yeah.
And that, I don't know. I didn't think that was the case. I was a lot of things, all right? I did, you know, it's just the shit I did, drinking and drugging, and nothing bad, but just,
The way you feel about yourself.
yeah, right.
You can't.
Right.
You can't do that alone.
And it's been difficult for me through the years, and I think I have the answer, but how much of that was the drinking and how much of that was my character? You know, I came back from Vietnam and everything had changed.
Of course.
And I picked up a drink then, and I didn't in Vietnam. And it's difficult to make any sense of it. But I did start drinking. We were smoking weed over there, and I still smoke. I don't smoke now, but
But you said
when
you
I
still
came
smoked
home,
when you came
yeah.
home.
So, you know, and so how much of that is me back then, and how much was the alcohol? How much was Vietnam? I don't know.
Well, I can honestly, I can say that, you know, I identify, you know, Ron, I identify. That's the key, right? Because one addict helping another, one alcoholic to another, like, I get it. The way I felt when she was gone, and that all I wanted to do was use some more, I felt like, what am I doing? All I wanted to do was have the dealer come over to my house now
Right.
because she's gone.
Maybe relieve some of the pain, some of that pain.
Exactly. The cycle, right?
Right.
When you came back, it was different, but you weren't, you know, you just weren't willing to face it. I wasn't willing to face anything, nothing. I didn't want to look in that mirror, Ron, especially when she was gone, and the kids.
Yeah, but I came back at 21. By 26 and a half, I'm running a serrated blade over each. Everything was gone.
Yeah.
The great job I had, the family.
Yeah.
And she said to me at one point, and maybe I said it before you, but once she did find out about some of my shenanigans, I'll say.
Yeah.
She said, I had you, and she really did love me. She said, I had you on such a pedestal, and it was running around. And you did that to me, you know.
And you gotta hear that from someone like that in your life. And that's
You know, we're going through this
Yeah.
right now with each other, but one part of this, or a big part of it, on the positive side, is I'm understanding what you're saying. And it goes the way it is. But we both know the questions that have to be asked. That's why an inside job.
Yep.
And that's why I feel I was a success with the halfway house that I was running, is because I could tell them, yeah, I did that. But of course, the other big piece is giving of yourself, and you're giving, I'm giving, and that just comes back. You know, my life's pretty good after 35 years of being sober and other things, you know, to gain back my spirituality.
Oh, I'm nowhere near that man, you know, today.
No.
I don't have that man ready to come to the service and talk to you
No.
at any point during the day. Like it's
Right.
it's another road.
Right.
You know, it may be the same road, but it's another journey altogether.
Yeah.
You know, I'm still on like this road of recovery.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna be
Yeah.
recovered.
No.
Right.
No. I don't know if I'd
Right.
want to be.
Oh no. No way.
I want to talk still about jail. I know Gabriel has agreed to come back because he has so much knowledge and wisdom, which he gained
Right.
through these horrible experiences.
I couldn't have said it any
And he's
other way.
telling you guys out here, and it could even help that, because I believe a big part of society thinks you can get sober, go into a detox and come out in 7 days. It is constant when you get out.
Oh no, it's
Constant vigil.
Oh, I mean the work, you know, required like after the initial like, you know, detox and I'm actually, you know, clean on the inside right now. I have all the opportunity in the world to start doing some work in all these areas that all went to the wayside while I was using.
Right.
Everything, family, money, job, you know, security, place to live, feelings, all those things come into play when all of a sudden I have no substance. If I don't have something to use, it's life on life's terms all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Can I do that out of detox?
Yeah.
So when my wife left, the only condition was that I go to detox, Ron. I mean, it's a great segue into like the next part of the journey, but I told her I'd be willing to go if she came back. I went to CHL in Worcester on that initial detox, and they said, look, we want to give you a bed in this other program. I said, great, I'll take it, because I was all gung-ho, man. I'm like, I've tried it every other way, Ron. There's no other way?
Right.
Give it to me. I went up to what's called Passages in the building on Jake's Ave in Worcester, CHL. I stayed 7 days before Mass Health was saying, we're no longer willing to pay for your bed. You got to make a decision. What are you going to do? And I said, well, that's it. You know, check out of here and go home, because that was all I was willing to do. What people don't know, and what individuals will tell people, just like I did, is that there's nothing left for me here. Insurance has run out. I don't have a bed anymore. I have to make, you know, if I don't come home, I'll be homeless. And that's what I told my wife, and she took me back. But the truth was different, Ron. The truth is that there are monies available to hold beds at different facilities. If you can no longer stay at the one that you're currently at because of your insurance, there are options. And you never have to just leave, because I have the ability today to ask for help. I have the
Right.
ability today to stand up and say, I need that bed. I want help. I want further treatment. Please do not put me out on the street right now, because I'm afraid I will die. Those are the words that I would say to any unit that I would be on today if they told me insurance was running out.
That's wonderful for you, but like you said, maybe you didn't have that information, or you had that information.
I did not at that point, Ron.
Right.
I did not. I didn't know.
But Chanel, in episode 15, after she picked up,
Yep.
after they
Right.
threw her out in the street after 72 hours, no house, no money,
Yep.
no place to live, and that's what really gets to me.
Of course.
We're throwing this money away.
Yes.
It's not working. We got to approach it differently.
Yep.
I won't say completely differently, because there are a lot of people. We talked to a couple yesterday from different
That's correct.
different
Facilities, yeah.
programs, but it's still, they didn't offer Chanel another place to live. It was gone. So what are you going to do? So after that 72 hours, I think she lasted a couple of days or 3 days.
Yep.
I don't remember. But she woke up out of the, what's it called? Cumberland Farm down in Leominster,
yeah.
on the floor.
I remember that part of the story. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And she didn't even know what happened. That's in that amount of time. I have to keep saying, I had 2.25 years
Yeah.
behind the program of AA. You know, cooking at one, living there.
That's right.
And that was my foundation. That 2.25 years, that was my foundation, because I would see the people coming in, the attitude, the people going out, and those people with the bad attitude coming back or not coming back.
Or
Not coming back. Yeah, because they were dead.
There's a saying in the fellowship that they're the bitter ends: jails, institutions, and death. And that's where my disease takes me.
Right.
Every single time.
Yeah, and mine took me, although it kept going after that first suicide attempt. I had another point, but it was quick. It was a free fall.
Oh yeah.
After that first suicide attempt, there was another 7 years out there. And it was a nightmare. Every day was a nightmare. I'd get up and it was a nightmare. I didn't want to be on the earth anymore. I had screwed everything up so bad.
Everybody, everything.
Everybody.
Places.
Everybody.
There's no place for me to go anymore.
Right.
You know, I have no place to go. That's all this track would play in my head. I got
Right.
nothing. I got nowhere. You know.
Right. I think we're getting close to wrapping it up. Just this part.
Just this part. This is my initial. This is my first introduction to any kind of treatment. You know, really, besides 12-step, that I had ever even been willing to do at that point. Because finally, like somebody said, enough's enough. You're sick. Go get help.
Yeah.
And like, I said okay. It wasn't that I was saying okay to me though. You know what I mean, Ron? It wasn't that I was saying, okay, Gabe, you know, we can get better. And that was the problem.
What do you think could help? Give me 2 things that, and we didn't say it, but you are the manager of a halfway house now.
So there is
Sober house.
there is a distinction. I graduated a halfway house
Right,
in
in
Worcester.
Worcester.
I actually went from
Let's
there.
give them the name.
Oh, Channing House.
Okay,
Channing
put
House
it
in
in
Worcester, and you know, I graduated there after 6 months.
Yeah.
And took the next suggestion, because the halfway house was definitely a suggestion someone made to me,
Yeah,
to go into a sober house afterward, and that was on Vernon Street in Worcester, where I had 2 roommates. One was my friend from Channing House. He actually graduated a month before me.
Right.
And the other was what we call the sponsee brother.
right.
I love that man. You know, those 2, I love both of them very much. They were at the dinner table with me sometimes talking about how our day was, you know. And when you're clean and you have this program, there are so many things that you can just find beautiful and so many things that you can be grateful for. Even a funny conversation about the guy at work today.
Yeah.
That just, you know, he's crazy.
And people you can trust. Of course,
Yes.
AA's AA, it's
Right.
huge, and NA, it's huge, and it's a lot of sick people, a lot of saints, a lot of everybody. It's just, I couldn't even imagine how big this thing is,
Oh,
because it's everywhere.
And the process that people aren't knowledgeable about yet, like, so initial treatment, and then your residential program, where like I learned how to live life
Right.
on life's terms. I got hooked up with this 12-step group that I call my network, that I call the people that support
Trust.
me and trust. Yeah, I trust them. Then I moved on to a sober house and like met these individuals that, you know, I got just to call my brothers, you know what I mean, in the process. Michael actually moved out after 6 months and went back into his daughter's life. He got custody back of his daughter after only 1.5 years of being clean. And he did some serious work to get there. He acquired enough capital along with his family to buy a property. He called me 6 months after that. I said, Gabe, I want to open a sober house, and I want you to
The
manage it
kid's
for me.
25.
25 years old.
Man, if we not that it was that much longer. For
Oh.
me, it was 34, but
Yeah,
still.
and
you get it
31,
at-
right,
and
exactly,
You hear
yeah,
it. You hear it. Boy, if I could have got it back then.
Yep.
But that wasn't the case. Go ahead.
And he's, you know, he's my boss now, along with being my friend and my brother in this process. He took a lot of the things that work at halfway houses. So, like, you know, there's structure at my house. There's a
Right.
curfew throughout the
Right.
week. Guys have the ability to go on pass on the weekends, but then there's chores that they do throughout the week. There are random urinalysis screens. Like, I tell people all the time, Ron, I would not have written this story for me. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I would not. Me being accountable for someone else's urine screens when I couldn't, you know, pass one at certain points in my life.
Right.
You know, people deserve the opportunity to have that, though, to be safe.
Be
Like
safe.
like me and Michael were at our site,
Right.
our sober house in Worcester. People deserve that, and that's what we strive for at this house, and in the philosophy that we envision for this house, the house of opportunity.
And that is in Lancaster.
Lancaster. Yep.
Yeah. House of Opportunity.
That's correct.
How long has it been?
So we've
going now?
had the doors open since February, and all this while we've been striving towards a certification through the Massachusetts
Right.
Alliance for Sober Housing.
Right.
We've since been accredited with that certification, and now we're going to be able to get referrals from those individuals that
Right.
you met at the
Right.
house doing walkthroughs for their facilities. These are BSAS accredited facilities in the state of Massachusetts. Any of them can now send us referrals from halfway house or treatment facilities, whatever it
How about
is.
jail?
And jail too.
Really?
So we at the training me and Michael did, we found out that parole is an option for accredited sober houses.
Okay.
And like, I tell you, if I had made the decision not to, you know, go back home several times in my life and actually go into a sober house and step down
Yeah.
from a higher
Yeah.
security facility, I may have gotten the message a little earlier on. You know, I might have actually done some work on myself, and that's what, you know, I have done through the 3 years that I've been clean and sober, is work on myself enough to get to know me again. And doing things like managing this house has showed me that, like, It's all possible only because I have just today clean. Tomorrow, I don't know how I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I don't know if I'm gonna mess up or if I'm gonna lie to someone or if I'm gonna cheat someone out of something. I don't know any of that because like I'm not there yet.
Right.
Today, I don't have those things. Today, I have the ability not to do those things. And that's all that I have today. Because I have just today to be the best that I can through my higher power, the 12-step fellowship that I call home, and through loving and caring people that I call my network, like Michael, like my sponsor, and like my sponsee brothers that are still in my life today.
And you are dealing with that with your brother, and we talked about that, and from the inside, from you, that's another time also.
I will say now though that those of you that will see this interview and hear this interview, please, if you are not the one with the problem, if there is someone in your life that is afflicted with the disease of addiction or alcoholism, like there is hope for them too. There are meetings and there's a message of hope for those that are seeking it. My brother had a little bit of clean and sober time, and I got to know him more than I have in years.
Yep.
Got to spend more time with him than I have in years.
Right.
Quality time, not time spent incarcerated.
Right. And you guys were in together.
We were at points, yep.
What do you think? I already asked a question, but we got off track. If it was, it's very complicated thing. It's
like you stated in the statement here, the quote from the doctor, it's all those things.
It's all those things. And that's what we have to address. And a huge part of society, and I can understand it, don't understand that. They don't understand. I believe you are here for a purpose, but I do believe day at a time that you're going to do very well, and maybe there's some schooling in there for you, but I can really see promising things for you. You're very intelligent, and you got that heart from being sober, and even beyond that, you just have that heart and that structure and that core.
Right.
If you were going to go over to the next thing, I'm saying that wrong, but what would your part of an answer be for what can help?
Knowledge, as far as the process goes, for me, it took divorce and it took incarceration and it took years away from my life. Some points, people may not get to those.
Right.
Other people may go deeper and darker, and it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you're willing to get help, and that's one of the key points, be willing to ask for help. Get honest. That's where it starts, is honesty.
Yeah.
And the second is in that knowledge of self and knowledge that treatment is available. Know the process of how it goes. Get that detox bed. 7 a.m. in the morning, all those treatment facilities are open for business.
Yeah.
And if you couldn't get a bed last night and you had to go outside, I feel for you.
Because you've been there.
But get there in the morning.
Yeah.
Don't say I'm going to do it tomorrow. There is no tomorrow for me. I know that much.
Right.
Nope.
Right.
And then after initial treatment and after the initial detox, there are holding facilities across the state that will take you in preparation for the residential that you might do. Residential program being long-term treatment. There are programs that are 45 to 90 days. There are programs that are 1 to 3 months. There are it's 6 to 9 months in some cases. Channing House was 6 months. And if you want an extension and you're not there yet, it's a case-by-case basis, but like they're not going to throw you out.
Right.
We're
Right.
we're not, in my case, when someone relapses at the house, like I'm not saying here's your stuff, get out. I'm on the phone finding them a bed at detox
That's
because
how it was for me also.
I want them to get the treatment that I got.
We were lucky because this was VA program, Unity House
Yeah.
and MVOC in their workplaces. If they picked up, okay, 30 days. If you don't want to, then I'll drive you up there, and I got some stories about that.
That's right. I will absolutely take you to detox, brother, but like, let's get you some help.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why we're good at this thing. You're good at this thing, all right? Because
Someone else was good to me.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
For me, and I notice it in other people, it gets easier.
Yes.
You know, I've been sober 35 years and change. And when it comes down, drinking doesn't come into play. You know, it's how do I get by that thing? But in saying that, I've also heard it a million times. May you have. I don't even think about it, you know, a year sober. I don't even think about it. And then removing themselves from that safety,
Yeah.
that safe point, and I got this, I got this, I got this. All right, excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you for coming, and
Welcome.
And like we said, you'll be back.
Absolutely.
So, once again, and this is number 17, and I'm happy about that. And it is on YouTube. Get on YouTube, search Leominster TV, and go to playlist, and you can see those. This will be on tonight, and you can see those 17. And some of them, you just wouldn't believe the stories, and then the stories of recovery. So with that, thank you very much. An inside job. And yeah, we're going to wrap it up because Christmas is coming. Thank you.